Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. As you can tell, I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, so I'm wearing my Christmas shirt. I never have been one of those that starts celebrating Christmas on the 1st of November, but now that I have kids, especially 6-year-old twins, they start talking about Christmas and what they want in the middle of September. So I figured now that it's almost mid November, I need to try to go ahead and get into the Christmas spirit. If you join in live on the video, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I always enjoy reading your comments as we go and chiming in with the people and responding to as many comments as I can. Give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do. But of course, since it's Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on where you are, I wanted to come on here and talk some college football. I debated on watching the rest of the BYU-Utah game before coming on here, but I figured by that time it's going to be almost 2 o'clock Eastern time, and there may not be anybody awake by then. But BYU is currently a top 10 team, and they are getting beat. Utah has underperformed all year long, but the first half tonight is the best they've played in a half all year long. Any thoughts on any of the games from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or yesterday in the world of college football? Please feel free to let me know. Hey, Ray, glad to have you here. I believe that's the first time I've seen your name in the comments section. If you're a fan of a team or a sport, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume you're just a fan of all sports, as I try to watch as many sports I can from all sports, not just one or two. But let's go back to Thursday night. Coastal Carolina defeated Appalachian State 38-24, and Ray says, go lug nuts. Friday night, California beats Wake Forest in a high-scoring shootout, 46-36. Hey, Sanju, glad to have you here. Can you please give me some reaction to my song, Turn SE, for a while, for reaction? Okay, send it to me later on, and I'll try my best to watch it whenever I get a chance. Hey, Tim, I'm glad to have you here. Hey, Chaotic, glad to have you here. And Tim, to answer your question, I guess it depends on how you define the word relevant. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, Tim asked the question, when will Clemson be relevant again? And Tim, I don't know if you're a Clemson fan or if you're asking that because you know a Clemson fan or if you're asking that because you know that I'm a Clemson fan. But either way, I will answer your question. And everybody that follows the channel knows I don't pull any punches. I don't come on here and call people names. I never talk about anybody should be fired. I don't go over the top. I don't threaten people. To me, that's childish. But I do at least give an honest opinion, whether I like a team or not. When I come on here, I give 100% honest answers on every team and every sport, whether I like them or not. And Ray, thank you for asking, but if I was to sing, everybody that tuned in live would quickly no longer be tuning in live. And Tim, I think Clemson is relevant now. Now, if you mean relevant as in when are they going to compete for a national championship again, then that's at least 3-4 years down the road. But if you mean relevant as in just getting talked about and just being ranked, they're there now. Before the season started, I said Clemson would finish 10-2. I still think they will. And I said they'd lose to Georgia, and then they would lose a game somewhere because I didn't trust their offense to play good all year long. And right now they're sitting at 7-2. So right now they're exactly where I thought they would be. You're just going around showing smaller creators love, kindness, and respect. Thank you. I guess that's A or I appreciate that. And if they finish 10-2, they're going to finish top 15, maybe top 12. And if you finish in top 15, you're relevant. You're not going to win a national championship, but you're relevant. As long as they finish ranked, they're always going to be relevant because of what Dabo's done the last decade. And Dabo is such a good coach that I personally don't think Clemson's ever going to have a season that Dabo's the coach where they're going to go 5-7 or 6-6. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think they will. Oh, your name is pronounced A. The Y and the E are silent. Well, A, glad to have you here. Keep pushing, keep grinding, keep a positive mindset, and never lose focus on your goals. Let no one stop you, not even haters. Just know I've been there and got your back. Well, I appreciate that, A. Appreciate that very much, and I will keep going. I enjoy doing these videos. It's taking a while for the channel to grow, but we are slowly getting there, and I love talking sports, so it doesn't bother me at all. I could do this every day. If I didn't have a full-time job and 3 small kids, I would do 3 or 4 videos every day because I love talking. I love reading your comments, and I love talking about sports and watching sports. And back to Clemson, since I think it was Tim that asked about Clemson, I just don't see a season where Dabo's their coach and they're going to go 5-7 or 6-6. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it. But Dabo's done so much at Clemson over the last decade that as long as he goes 9-3 every year, he'll be the coach as long as he wants to be, and he'll also be ranked every year. If Clemson finishes 9-3 every year, they're going to be ranked. They're going to be ranked between 21 and 25 more than likely, but still being ranked top 25 is being ranked top 25. And if you're ranked, you're relevant. Now you know you're not relevant if you finish 11-1 or 12-0 and you're ranked 23rd, 24th, or not ranked at all. Then you know your team is struggling. But as long as you finish 9-3 and you're ranked and you're borderline top 20, and people still talk about you having a great program, running a great program, doing things the right way, and Dabo's always up for Coach of the Year, then you're relevant. But if you mean that as in when they're going to compete for a national title again, then I think they're at least 3 or 4 years away. Hey, Christopher, glad to have you here. And that all depends on, what's coming down the pipe, because they've had a lot of decommitments in the last couple of weeks. And their defense right now is as good, starters-wise, as the teams that won 2 national championships. But now the difference is when they won the 2 national championships under Dabo, they had backups who were just as good as the starters. They just couldn't start because only 11 guys can start. So you knew if one of your starters got hurt or got suspended or got tired, the guy that takes his spot is just as good. Now, if one of the starters comes out of the game for any reason, you're in trouble. The depth is awful. But as far as the starting 11, they're just as good as they had back in the day. They just don't have depth now. You don't think Cade Klubnik's a championship level quarterback? I don't either, but I don't think he's terrible. I feel the same way about Cade Klubnik as I felt about DJ, and still feel that way about DJ. Hey there, Gorilla. Glad to have you here. Gorilla says New York Giants, baby. They've got a long way to go. Speaking of teams that have a long way to go. But I've said the same thing about DJ. You're not going to find many guys that have an arm as strong as DJ. DJ's arm is probably twice as strong as Cade Klubnik's arm. But look where it's got him. Nowhere. DJ's a good game manager. If you have a good defense and you can go out there and just hand the ball off, play low-scoring games, only throw the ball when you want to, not when you have to, DJ can win. But if you can't run the ball at all, or your defense is bad and you've got to score 40 points to win, DJ's not winning. Cade Klubnik's kind of the same way. He's improved this year compared to last year, but he's still not great. But as long as Clemson can run the ball and play good defense, you can win with Cade Klubnik, but you're not going to win because of Cade Klubnik. And there's a difference. But he's better than he was last year, but he's still not great. He holds the ball way too long. He took a couple sacks today where he should have thrown it away, and that's what he's always done. I never understood and still don't. And Christopher, I've mentioned it a few times here on the channel. When DJ was at Clemson, all you heard about was Cade Klubnik. And I know at every program in America, the backup quarterback is always the most popular player on the team. I know that. But when DJ was there, all you heard about was Cade Klubnik. And then every time I saw Cade Klubnik play, he was terrible. He was awful. DJ, in my personal opinion, was always better than Cade Klubnik. And I never understood why everybody wanted Cade Klubnik when Cade was no better than DJ. And I still say Cade is no better than DJ. They could be in the same position now with DJ that they're in with Cade Klubnik. They wouldn't be any better, and they wouldn't be any worse. They're pretty much the same style quarterback. They're good, not great. If your defense can play good and keep you in games, you can run the ball, you'll win. If you can't run the ball and they got to throw the ball 45 times a game, you can forget it. You can win with them, but you won't win because of them. So I don't think Cade Klubnik is awful, but he's never going to compete for a Heisman Trophy. He's never going to put up 5,000 passing yards. It's just, he's not that kind of quarterback. But he's still a good quarterback. And Mr. Vishnu, glad to have you here, but I don't have WhatsApp, so if you'd like to leave a comment, you can leave a comment down below. UCLA defeated Iowa back on Friday night, 20-17. And speaking of backup quarterbacks, Iowa's been playing all year long with Cade McNamara, who transferred from Michigan. And I've mentioned on here numerous times that I don't know why Iowa wanted Cade McNamara. You know, he was never a great quarterback, but he was decent his freshman year at Michigan, and he has just regressed big time. And he's always been a statue. He can't move at all. So all he can do is throw the ball, and he was awful last year before he got hurt. He's been bad this year. So the Iowa fans wanted to play their backup, who is a transfer, and he can't throw either, but at least he can run, and he does add that element. But Iowa just can't find a quarterback. Memphis back on Friday night. They defeat Rice 27-20. Now on to Saturday's games. TCU defeats Oklahoma State 38-13. Arizona State defeats Central Florida 35-31. All of you that have commented tonight, I appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so, whether it's the sports talk, whether you think I'm good looking, or whether you hate my guts. It's okay. You can still subscribe to the channel. It takes about 2 seconds, and it's free. It helps the channel out tremendously. And hey there, I'm going to hope your name is Herrick. You are from Brazil, so glad to have you here from Brazil on this Saturday night or Sunday morning. Louisiana defeated Arkansas State 55-19. Jacksonville State continues to look better and better. They defeat Louisiana Tech 44-37. South Carolina defeated Vanderbilt 28-7. And Mr. Vishnu, you are from India, so glad to have you here from India. James Madison all over Georgia State 38-7. Duke is now 7-3 under first-year head coach Manny Diaz. They defeat the Wolfpack of NC State 29-19. UConn continues to look better and better under Jim Mora Jr. They defeat UAB 31-23. Navy defeats South Florida 28-7. West Virginia defeats Cincinnati 31-20. 24. And the people up in Morgantown are still saying that somehow, some way, Nick Saban will be on the coaching staff in some sort of capacity starting in 2025. I guess we'll wait and find out. Boston College squeaks by Syracuse 37-31. Rutgers defeats Minnesota 26-19. I'm going to try to go back later on and watch that whole game. I know you might say why. Well, for one, I love college football. For two, the Rutgers quarterback has been Ethan Kaliakmanis, who transferred from Minnesota. So he was playing against his former team. But there's been a lot of talk in Piscataway, New Jersey, the last couple of weeks about benching Ethan Kaliakmanis. So I want to go back and watch that game to see if he played at all, and if so, how much did he play, or maybe he played the whole game. I don't know. Army defeated North Texas 14-3. Clemson defeated Virginia Tech 24-14. And if I'm Clemson, I would never kick a field goal the rest of this season. Now, I know they made one late in the game, but in the second quarter, they had their 5th field goal blocked this year, and they've all been blocked on the left side. So I'm not sure what they're doing or what they're not doing, but it's not getting better. And even if it's 4th and 25, if it's going to be blocked, you're better off just going for it. So I'm not sure what they're doing wrong on special teams, but their special teams field goal blocking is absolutely atrocious. I wouldn't kick a field goal the rest of the year, because all it's going to do is get blocked. And Virginia Tech's basically only real touchdown came because they blocked that field goal and picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown. Their other touchdown comes late in the game when it's 24-7, and it was irrelevant. But outside of that, the Hokies' only touchdown came on the special teams blocked field goal. And Mr. Vishnu, I am from the South. Thank you for asking. Colorado defeats Texas Tech 27-17. Kansas defeats Iowa State 45-36. So Iowa State goes from being undefeated to having 2 losses in 2 weeks' time. Tennessee defeats the Bulldogs of Mississippi State 33-14. Texas defeats Florida 49-17. And in case you have not heard, Florida came out earlier in the week, I believe it was on Tuesday, and their AD basically said Billy Napier is coming back next year because they feel like he's a winner, and they feel like if they give him time, he'll turn the program around, and they would rather sit back and wait patiently on him to turn it around than fire him and start all over again. I personally think it's because they think DJ Lagway is going to be an excellent quarterback, and they think that DJ Lagway is only there because of Billy Napier, and if you fire Billy Napier, then you're going to lose DJ Lagway. So to make sure Lagway stays, they're going to keep Napier. And I mentioned a few weeks ago that Florida's overall record is not good. Their team is not good. But when you watch them play, they're playing hard. So they're playing like a team that respects the coach and wants the coach to be there. If I was a fan of another team besides Clemson who doesn't play Florida, if I was a fan of a team that played Florida on a regular basis, I would want Napier there, because to me, Napier's not any good. Florida's going to go 6-6 or 7-5 almost every year that Napier's their coach. So if I was a fan of a rival of Florida, I would beg them to keep Billy Napier. Georgia Tech pulls off an upset in the noon time slot Saturday by defeating Miami 28-23. Now, it's the second straight year Georgia Tech has beat Miami. Of course, the difference is this year they just lined up and they beat them. Last year, Mario Cristobal decides to run the ball late in the game instead of just taking a knee, and the Hurricanes fumbled, and Georgia Tech recovered it and scored, I think, 2 plays later. And yesterday, Georgia Tech just flat out beat Miami. Hey there, Naz. Glad to have you here on this Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on where you're watching from. Thank you for commenting. Give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so, and share the video on all social media platforms. I am fantastic in my opinion. There's no such thing as a bad day. We have bad moments, and we let those bad moments create bad days. Hey there, Sanju. Glad to have you here, and it's noon. You're in Malaysia. Is it noon on Saturday or is it noon on Sunday there in Malaysia? But thank you for tuning in from Malaysia. I appreciate that. And Sanju, you can send me your song later on, and I will try my best to watch it. It is Sunday. Okay, so it's noon on Sunday. I wasn't sure if Malaysia was ahead of us or behind us. I knew all that back when I was in school, but that's been too many years ago. But Georgia Tech just lines up and beats Miami. Haynes King had been out with an injury, and really, truly, nobody really knows what it was. They listed it as a shoulder injury, but they didn't specify what shoulder or anything. And I don't think you're going to miss 2.5 games because of an injury to your non-throwing shoulder. But nevertheless, Haynes King played yesterday. He didn't play the whole game, but Georgia Tech's offense looks better with him on the field. He only threw 6 passes, but I think he was 6 for 6. You can't beat that. Ole Miss just dominated Georgia. The final score was 28-10, and Naz, I am from the South. Thank you for asking. Born and raised in the South. But the score really wasn't that close. Ole Miss threw a pick about 2 minutes into the game, and Georgia got a short field and scored a touchdown there. So, it's 3 minutes into the game, and Georgia's got 7, and they got a field goal the rest of the game. So the game was not that close, but Georgia's defense made Ole Miss kick several field goals. So at halftime, it was 16-7. But the game never was in doubt. And Ole Miss and Georgia yesterday was just like Clemson and Louisville last week. Clemson's a better team than Louisville, but, football is so special because unlike other sports, you don't get best of 5 and best of 7. You get one game. If Clemson played Louisville 10 times, Clemson's probably going to win 8, if not 9 times. But the 1 or 2 times Louisville would win, it would be down to the wire, close game. But none of that's going to happen because you played one game in Louisville, just beat them in every way possible. Is Ole Miss better than Georgia? Maybe. But is Ole Miss that much better than Georgia? No. Seems we lead 13 hours. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. Clemson sucks. Bama's better. Thank you, BLP, for commenting. I appreciate that. But Georgia just got beat in every way possible, and I've mentioned it numerous times here on the channel, and I'm sure if I was to ask Georgia fans right now the problem, they would all say it's Mike Bobo, and he's always going to be the scapegoat. Georgia can score 95 points, and they're going to blame Mike Bobo, but it's not Mike Bobo's fault. Georgia's offensive line is atrocious. They can't block. They've got one of the offensive line coaches that you always hear getting praised for being so good. But then when you watch his players play, they're just not good. And thank you, Nash, for subscribing. I appreciate that. Mr. Tahoe said men don't watch sports. That's just a fact of life. When you become a man, you put away childish games. Grow up and be a man, people. We ain't got no time for all these sports games. And I have to disagree. A lot of people like sports. You can like sports whether you're a child or an adult. Now, a lot of people feel that way about video games. They feel like video games is something you do, middle school or high school. Once you grow up and get married, you don't sit around and play video games. But several people, no matter the age, love sports. But Georgia's offensive line cannot block. They cannot run the ball, and I think it was the 6th game of the year before they had a 100-yard rusher, and they have too many good running backs to not be able to run the ball. And why they can't run the ball, I don't know. Naz, it is still officially fall, but October felt like fall. But so far, the month of November has felt like summertime. But it is still officially fall. We don't turn to winter until, I believe it's the week of Christmas. It's sometime in late December when the calendar actually flips to claiming it's winter. Right now it's fall, but it feels like summer outside. But you can't do a whole lot if you're Mike Bobo if your offensive line can't block, you can't run the ball, and you lead the nation in dropped passes. So if you can't throw and you can't run and you can't block, I'm not sure what Bobo is supposed to do, but of course they're all going to blame Bobo and Mr. Tahoe. Clemson has won 3 national championships in football, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about all the championships they've won in soccer and golf, but in football they have won 3. And yes, college players continue playing after 4 years. When I was growing up, it was 4 years, sometimes 5, because a lot of guys would get a medical red shirt or a red shirt because you didn't play much at all, if at all. But now there's college players that play 7 or 8 years. Miami right now has a tight end in his 9th year of collegiate football. He's going to be a grandpa still playing college football. So I don't know what Bobo can do when you can't block and you can't run and you can't throw and you can't catch. But Georgia fans are going to blame it on Bobo. And nice to meet you too, Naz. I hope you come back later on and continue commenting and continue leaving good reviews on the channel. What's up? Hey, Shush. We are discussing college football. That's my main topic, but really when I come on here live, if anybody leaves a comment that's not about college football, I try to respond, but my topic today is college football since we had college football Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But Georgia's problem right now, I would say, is probably 80% wide receivers, 15% Carson Beck, and 5% Mike Bobo. Heading to bed. Well, I'm glad you come on here for a short time, Mr. Tahoe. And Shush, I don't know any football jokes. I wish I did. I know some jokes, but I don't know any football jokes. I'll have a dad joke coming up at the end of this video. I try to do one in about every video that I do because I love dad jokes. But it's a travesty that Georgia has the talent they have, and more than likely they're going to miss the playoffs because if they lose to Tennessee next week, there's no doubt in my mind they're not making the playoffs. But if they beat Tennessee, they've still got a chance, but it's an outside chance. But even with them leading the country in drop passes, and even with their offensive line being so bad, they've still got talent all over the field. So it's definitely a bad year for underachieving from the coaching staff when you have the talent Georgia has and you look the way they look. But the offensive line can't block, and this is why Georgia needs a mobile quarterback. And I don't know that they'll ever get one as far as they recruited one, because Kirby Smart is an old school football coach. He believes you have pocket passing quarterbacks that go back there, make the big time throws when you need them, don't turn the ball over, play good defense, and win. And that's why I think Bobo will be there as long as he wants to be there, because for one, the problems this year are not Bobo's fault. But for two, I think Kirby feels like if we play good defense, we don't need to score 45 points a game to win. We're fine like we are. Georgia had scored 30 points a game in every game this year until they played Ole Miss yesterday. So even though their passing game is struggling, they were still scoring until they played Ole Miss yesterday, and yesterday did nothing go Georgia's way. But the only mobile quarterback he's ever had was Stetson Bennett, and that was an accident. Remember, back in 2018, Kirby Smart basically ran off Stetson Bennett. He left and went to a junior college and then came back later on. And I still don't understand why Stetson Bennett gets so much hate from Georgia fans when you've had top 5 or top 10 talent for 45 straight years, and the only 2 titles you won was because of Stetson Bennett, but yet all the Georgia fans hate him. Makes zero sense to me. But outside of Stetson Bennett, who was there by accident, Kirby Smart had Jacob Eason, and it would probably take Jacob Eason 5 minutes to run a 40-yard dash. And then you had Jake Fromm, who I think had 30 rushing yards in his entire Georgia career. And then you had JT Daniels, and if you asked JT Daniels to run a 100-yard dash, it would take him 3.5 days. And now you have Carson Beck, who can't run. So the offensive line is bad, but it would help some if you had a mobile quarterback. But Georgia doesn't. But when you can't block and you can't run and you can't catch and you can't throw, I'm not really sure what Bobo is supposed to do. I'm almost betting he's not telling the wide receivers, hey, go out there. When this ball comes to you, make sure you drop it. Oregon defeats Maryland 39-18. Notre Dame all over Florida State. Boy, just what an awful year for Florida State. 52-3. Alabama all over LSU. I believe it was 42-13. I quit watching them, but it was 10 seconds to go, so maybe one of them scored a late touchdown, but I believe it was 42-13. And then Virginia defeats Pittsburgh 24-19. That game matters because Pittsburgh plays at home next Saturday against Clemson. And back to Georgia for a minute. It must have been after the game last Saturday because I didn't hear about it until Friday morning, but they were in the locker room and it sounded like it was after the game last week when Kirby Smart made Carson Beck stand up and basically told the whole entire Georgia team, hey, he had a tough day today, but every time he needs to make a big-time throw, he makes it. But we've got to make him better by playing better football around him. But if you go back and watch that video, it looks like Carson Beck is just absolutely about to cry. So I think Carson Beck's confidence has been destroyed. But it kind of scares you if you're a Georgia fan because, when Stetson Bennett was there and Georgia was dominating, Kirby Smart just bashed Stetson Bennett all the time. Stetson Bennett could have 500 passing yards and Kirby Smart spending 5 minutes talking about Stetson got to be better. So it's kind of odd and strange that, you bash Stetson Bennett all the time, but then Carson Beck you want to praise. It kind of makes you think that either Kirby knows that Carson's lost his confidence or Kirby's afraid that he's going to lose his confidence, that he knows I've got to have this guy. So, I've tried bashing him and it ain't working, so I'm now going to praise this guy because he's all I've got. So if we lose him, we're in trouble. But if you go back and watch that, it looks like Carson Beck is just absolutely about to cry. But I mentioned here on the channel that Georgia was going to miss Brock Bowers, and they definitely do. But I think they miss him more than they thought they were going to miss him. Not the coaching staff, the players. The coaching staff knows it's next man up, but the players seem like they're just sitting back waiting for one of the other players to make a big-time play, and they just don't have that kind of player on the team this year. They don't have anybody you can go to when you need a play. Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey was the two players on the offense that if Georgia had a 3rd and 75, one of those two guys was getting the ball, and more than likely they were going to get 75 yards. Now you just don't have that. Now if you have to have a big-time play, there's just nobody. They've still got talent, but there's a difference in talent and having the go-to guys, and they just don't have that. So Georgia now definitely needs this win next week over Tennessee. Otherwise, there's no way they make the playoffs. But if they play as bad as they played yesterday against Ole Miss, Tennessee will beat them by 3 touchdowns as well. But I don't expect Georgia to look that bad 2 straight weeks. But they got dominated against Ole Miss. I mean, the game was never in doubt. Georgia got outplayed on offense, defense, special teams. They got outcoached. They got outhearted. I mean, they looked flat. Georgia looked as flat against Ole Miss as Clemson looked last week against Louisville. Now, what happened? I don't know, but it happened. Hello there, Sam. Glad to have you here. Hello there, Daniel. Glad to have you here again. All of you that's chimed in live on this live video, I appreciate it. Make sure you give the video a like and a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you do that as well and share the video on all social media platforms. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I named my horse Mayo, and sometimes mayonnaise. Hello there, Toby. Glad to have you here. The video's just about over. You come in just in time to hear my dad joke, but make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up if you have not yet subscribed. Please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.